Bang, bang, Niner gang. Welcome back. This is the Can't Lose Show. I'm your host, Trent. And man, what a great week it is to be a 49er fan. You know, before the season, like we touched on last year, there was a lot of drama, but it all got resolved before the season started. Game one. We thought we were going to have a full, healthy squad, but as y'all know, CMC was rolled out right before the game. All good, though. You know, we'll get into it, but Jordan Mason definitely stepped up and filled his shoes. He's no CMC, don't get me wrong, but he held his own and he did his thing. But let's backtrack a little bit. As y'all know, I said I was going up north and I was going to the game. So I want to give you a little brief rundown about that. So we left our house like Sunday and we started driving up there. Honestly, the drive was not bad at all. Karina was watching football on the iPad, and I got to listen to all the games. I wasn't really watching because I was driving, obviously. But the morning games were good listening to. And then we got up there about mid of the second games of the day, and the drive was smooth. We get there. There was a lot of 49er fans. We passed by the stadium. It was cool to see. And it was Sunday. It wasn't even Monday. It wasn't game day yet. Our hotel filled in, and man, we walked out of the hotel on game day, took an Uber down to the stadium, and it is so great to be by all these 49er fans. I love seeing all the red. I love hearing Niners, Niners. It's one of the best times, and if you're a 49er fan and you haven't been to a game, I highly suggest saving those pennies and going up there one time in your lifetime. And once you go once, you'll want to go back. Let's dive into some things we saw at the game before we get into the game. We got to see legend Patrick Willis. He did the foghorn to start the game. That was pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen him in person because I didn't go to games when he played. And then we got to see Frank Gore get inducted into the Hall of Fame for the 49ers at halftime. And then Vernon Davis was one of the ones giving the speech at halftime for Frank Gore. So some 49er legends that I loved watching on Sunday about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, however many years ago it was. They were part of when I was really young watching the game. It was really fun. And those are just a few people that we saw. Obviously, we saw some cool 49er fans, but let's get into the game. Let's stop dancing around it. We started off with, we didn't start off too hot. We were getting a feel for the season, but our defense came out on fire. They really set the tone for this game, I believe, and the offense just got it rolling. But we started off with a field goal from Moody, and this wasn't going to be his only one of the day. Man had 6 field goals on the day. NFC Player of the Week. That was awesome to see from Moody. So we take the lead 3-0. And then, it's the start of the second quarter. I believe the Jets had scored to make it 7-3 to start the second quarter. And then we start off with another field goal. Moody's his second one of the day. It's 6-7. And then defense comes out, and man, like I said, defense was on fire. They were our spark that day, and a 3-and-out. Boom. We go down, and Debo gets a touchdown. Not a fancy one, but a hard touchdown, especially after a couple penalties that I think pulled back 1 touchdown, maybe even 2. I forget. I was so lit during the game. And then our defense stays on fire, gets another 3-and-out, and we go down and get another Moody field goal. It is now at this point 16-7 and going into halftime. Offense comes out strong. 70 yards, 11 plays down the field, and Mason up the middle, 5-yard touchdown, and we're rolling. We're rolling out of halftime. I'm reading my notes here. Defense comes out after that touchdown and gets a huge pick. I think Diamonor Lenore tips it, and Flanagan I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong, but he gets the pick, and it sets our offense up nice, and we go and get another field goal. Like I said, Moody had 6, so you're going to be hearing that a lot. It's 26-7 at this point, and the crowd has just been into it all game. We were sitting, we had a little bit of a mix of fans, but really a lot of 49er fans. As you look around the stadium, it was really 49er fans. Jets fans, they were there, but not as much as I've seen visiting teams in the past. So at this point, we're up 26-7, and Jets fans are heading for the parking lot. It's nice to see when opposing fans are leaving early because you know your team did the right thing. To end the game, it was 32-19. Niners pulled out a dub, 1-0 on the season, 1 week at a time, road to Super Bowl. We took care of business that week. After the game, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We stood around our seats, took some photos, and then we saw that Scott Van Pelt was doing the Monday night after show of the game on Sports Center. So we headed down to where his set was, and we were waiting. We were like, oh, they're not going to bring out a player because they took down a chair from the studio. And we're like, oh, we waited for nothing. But then out of the tunnel, George Kittle comes out, and we all know George Kittle's electrifying. So seeing George, and we were literally, as from me to like the camera that you guys are seeing me out of, that's how close we were to George Kittle. Maybe not that close, but pretty damn close. And he was talking, he was hyping up the crowd from time to time. So that was cool to see. And heading out of the stadium, we ran into OG Carnell. Shout out OG Carnell. He has one of our Fred Warner pins, this one right here. And he posted on his story, got us some sales. So thank you so much, OG Carnell. And he puts out some awesome 49er content. If you haven't followed him, go follow him. And then it was our walk back to our hotel. We don't stay too far from the stadium. It's very walking distance. The only reason why we Uber on the first one is because it's easy to Uber in. It's just terrible Ubering out. So we walked back to the hotel, and it was all Niners the whole way up. Fans were still high on energy, and it was an awesome walk back. We get to our hotel, and we're like, man, what a game. We were just talking about how good it was, the environment, and we're like, man, we're hungry. So we went and got pizza, and that pizza hit the spot. And then we're like, man, what a great trip. But that's enough about me and my 49er trip. Let's get into this upcoming week. We got a lot going on. I want to get into our power rankings heading into week 2. Starting off on the outsides looking in, I'm going to give you my top 5, but the teams that didn't crack it, but they have the possibility to, and they're right outside number 5. I'm going to go Baltimore, Packers, and Texans. All for similar reasons. Their squads are loaded. They're nice. The Texans, I wanted to put them in my top 5. They did everything right going into Indy and getting a dub, but they're just right outside. Packers, a hard-fought game against Philly. I think what kept them out, though, is the fact that they didn't pull that game out, and then I don't think they're going to have Jordan Love for this week. Maybe even a couple weeks, so they're right outside my 5. And then Baltimore. That team's loaded. I think they just got to figure out how to use their pieces, and that only comes with time. And with the loss to KC, that's why they're right outside my top 5. But at number 5, I have Philly. For the reason that they have a good squad. I know they're missing Kelsey, which is a huge piece. But that's old news, and the Eagles do look nice. They played a great game against Green Bay. Jalen Hurts struggled a little bit, but I'm going to give them that 5 spot. Next up is the Lions. The Lions have a huge overtime victory against the Rams. And that game was back and forth. And then overtime starts, they win the coin toss, and then they just shove it down the Rams' throat. A team that has that much grit and is able to do that, they deserve a top 5 spot, so they're in at number 4. Number 3, and as y'all all know, you're going to hate me here. You're going to hate hearing me say this. I'm going to hate hearing myself say this, is the Cowboys. That team looked so nice this past Sunday against a Cleveland defense that didn't lose too many pieces, that was regarded as the number 1 defense in the league last year. to come out and do what they did, Dak getting paid that morning, he definitely said, "Thank you, Jerry. This is why you paid me." And he performed. CeeDee Lamb came out. It was an all-around great performance from the Cowboys. And got to give respect when respect is due. And that's why the Cowboys are at 3. Number 2 is the current reigning Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs. I think they go hand in hand with the team at number 1 that I haven't said yet. But the spark that they had versus the spark that the team at number 1 had is just a little different. Their squad's loaded. They're going to be great, and they're going to make another run at Super Bowl for sure. But I'm going to have them at number 2 this week. And at number 1, I have the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, they started the season off, let's say, at most power rankings, number 2 or 3. But that squad's loaded, and they came out on fire. Fred Warner's defense, there's no question about it. We are the best team in football, even without, quote-unquote, our best player, Madden cover, CMC, being sidelined. We have dogs on dogs, and they're in backups that are dogs. And if you could carry your team like that without your best player, it just shows what kind of run we can make. And that's why they're at power ranking number 1. And I'm going to keep them there until they prove me otherwise. We got to get into this week's games. Talking from power rankings, I think this game is going to be the game of the week. And that is Tampa Bay visiting the Detroit Lions. Detroit's coming off a great game like we just mentioned. But so is Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield lit it up. I think he's leading the way in QBR right now. Touchdowns. Baker Mayfield definitely found a home in Tampa Bay, and I'm happy for him because I think the league thought he was done for when he was leaving Cleveland and then to the Rams. And I don't know if he had another stop, but he definitely found a home in Tampa Bay. And I think that continues this week with that momentum. I think Baker Mayfield plays an MVP-like type game. He has 4 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing. I know that's crazy to say, but against Detroit, who I have in my top 5 power rankings, I just think they kind of stunned Detroit this week, and Baker Mayfield goes into Detroit and pulls out a dub. I'm not sure why I have that feeling, but I think that feeling's going to stand true. And we got to get into last year we did some matchups, and I thought Josh did a really good job at picking some matchups, and he kind of gave me some last year. So this year without him here, it was kind of hard to find like some marquee matchups. But I'm looking down at the weekly pick'em, and if you guys haven't played pick'em, I'm gonna plug it in right now, dirty plug. But Can't Lose Instagram, Can't Lose Show. Go check out my stories on Tuesdays. Usually I post the pick'em. You just screenshot it. You pick who you think's gonna win. You pick some tiebreaker scores, and you send $10 to the Venmo that's on the paper, and you just have fun and hope you win. And yeah, but back to the matchups. My bad. The matchup this week that I picked, it comes from the Denver-Pittsburgh game. Pat Surtain versus George Pickens. What a great matchup that's gonna be. Pat Surtain is arguably one of the best corners in football. Got paid like he is, and then George Pickens, one of the best receivers in football. Give him top 10. I think this matchup will be a deciding factor in the game. I think Pat Surtain holds his ground, but I think George Pickens still has a couple catches on the day, and if he does have a touchdown, I don't think it's going to be on Pat Surtain's side. But I think per the matchup, I think Pat Surtain wins this matchup. You guys already know I like to pick dogs of the week. What is a dog of the week? It is a guy. I hate to give it to quarterbacks, but this week I happen to give it to a quarterback. But it's a guy that resembles a dog, meaning he has the grit, he has the will, he wants to win. Obviously, they all want to win, but just has that little extra fight in him this week, and he plays like an MVP for this week. So for my dog of the week, it's going to be Kyler Murray, Arizona quarterback, against the Los Angeles Rams. I think he's going to have a big game. It's a home game for him, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they kind of show what they can be. I'm not saying they're going to be the best team this year. I'm not even saying they're going to be a good team this year. They might finish last in our division, but I think for this game, division game, he pulls out some tricks. He pulls out his grit, and they kind of start the Rams on a 0-2 season, and Kyler Murray has that dog in him this week and puts up some nice stats. Maybe 3 touchdowns, maybe 1 rushing. I think he finds Marvin Harrison this week. And yeah, they just roll, and he's going to be my dog of the week. Let's get into some 49er talk. 49er Minnesota this upcoming week. We already know this game. Last year we went into Minnesota and man, we shot ourselves in the foot. I believe that was a start to our 3-game losing streak or as part of it. And it was ugly. But I don't think it's like that this year. We're going against our old QB2, Sam Darnold. He's definitely learned a couple things about winning culture in San Fran. And they're coming off a great win against New York. I don't know if that's like the ultimate test, obviously, because I don't think New York Giants have a great squad this year, and I don't think they're going to be that good. But a win is a win, and they did exactly what they should have. Sam Darnold going up against Brock Purdy. I think Sam Darnold has some nice pieces on offense, but against the San Francisco 49ers D, I just think it's going to be a little too much, and we'll have him folded. He'll still get a touchdown or 2, but not much. I think what's going to be a cause of him not being able to pull out a dub against our defense is going to be Bosa. I think Bosa gets into the sack count this week with 2. And I think they're going to be timely sacks, maybe like 3rd and 5, and maybe to stop a touchdown that results in only a field goal. I don't know, but I'm saying Bosa's going to be our dog of the week for defense with 2 sacks and obviously a couple tackles on the day. Our dog on offense, though, and what gets us rolling, a bounce-back game, is going to be Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, he struggled in game 1 after signing that $30 million. Was it because the preseason, not practicing? Maybe. Maybe it just wasn't his day. I'm never going to fault a player for wanting to go get their bag. Yeah, I probably got stretched out longer than it needed to, but I think Brandon Ayuk comes back game 2 with a huge game with 2 touchdowns and double-digit catches. With all our weapons, I know that's hard to say, but that's just what I see for Brandon Ayuk this week. And he's going to be our dog of the week on offense. And we keep it rolling. I think this score this week is going to be 35-14 Niners with a great road victory. And then we go play in our SoCal home the next week against Los Angeles Rams in Levi South. So stay tuned for that. 1 week at a time, though, so we'll only focus on Minnesota this week. But to finish out this NFL slate, before we get there, I just want to say thank you for you guys listening this long. Thank you for our sponsors that make this possible. And I'm glad you guys are tuning in. Go check out our pins on our Instagram. If you guys want to buy that Dub City pin, it's still there. We still got a couple more left. So just DM us if you want that, and we can make something work. But as you guys know, I like to pick games, especially because we have the pick'em. So we're just gonna go down the pick'em sheet, and I'm gonna let you know who I think is gonna win. And my buddy Jace, he does this. He does a similar pick'em style with his guys on his podcast. So I think I'm gonna do something similar and get that post out there, just so you guys can see how accurate I am at guessing these games. And if I'm good, then keep rolling with me. If I'm not, hey. Maybe I'm not good at guessing games, but I know how to talk ball. So let's go. Buffalo, Miami. I'm going Miami on this game. Las Vegas at Baltimore. I'm going Baltimore. Chargers at Carolina. Carolina's not going to win many games this year, and it's not starting now. Give me the Chargers. New Orleans, Dallas. Both are coming off great wins, but I think Dallas being in my top 5 power rankings, I think they're going to show New Orleans, hey, take a little step back. You guys aren't that good. Carolina is just a really bad team. Give me Dallas in this game. Tampa Bay at Detroit. For Baker Mayfield, what we talked about earlier, give me Tampa Bay. Indianapolis, Green Bay. Without Jordan Love, I don't have much faith in this Green Bay team, so give me Indy. Cleveland at Jacksonville. I think this is a good game for Trevor Lawrence to shut up the haters. I don't think he's a dud quarterback. I don't think he's done in the NFL. I think he's just getting started. Give me Jacksonville. San Francisco, Miami. We already touched on this. Give me San Francisco. Seattle at New England. New England, great week 1 win, but I don't think you're going to get many wins. Give me Seattle. New York Jets, Tennessee. I think New York Jets bounce back after ass whooping against the 49ers. Give me the Jets. New York Giants at Washington. Give me Washington Commanders. Rams, Arizona. We already touched base on this. Kyler Murray, Arizona. Give me Arizona. Pittsburgh at Denver. This has my matchup of the week in it. I think Pittsburgh pulls this game out just because their defense alone. They will win them games. Cincy, KC, Joe Burrow is Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite, but I don't think he'll be his kryptonite this week because the Bengals are a very slow starting team. Give me KC. Chicago at Houston. I thought Caleb Williams, was going to start off hot. He didn't, but Chicago found a way to win last week. But they're not winning this week. Give me Houston. Atlanta and Philly to end the week. I don't think Kirk Cousins gets his first win in Atlanta this week. Give me Philly. That really caps off week 2 of the NFL. And man, I'm excited for this week. Football is back. It was a great week 1. It's only going to go up and up from here. So stay tuned. Keep listening. We're trying to drop episodes. I keep saying we, but it's really just me. I'm going to try to be dropping episodes every Thursday. I'm going to start getting guests on this show. So next week, stay tuned because Jace is coming on the show next week. He was on it a couple times last year, and he will be our first guest of the season. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for listening. And this is the Can't Lose podcast, and we are out. Deuces.